So I'm going to go a bit chirpier now, but the subject matter is far from chirpy. I got this one from a book of Scottish fairy tales, so I'm dedicating it to Amanda, who obviously was told this when she was in her cradle as a young lassie. Anyway, this story is obviously, you know, they design these stories to help children go to sleep at night, and you'll see the irony when you hear it. And so it's set to a chirpy tune, but it's got all of the classic folk themes in it. It's got infanticide, cannibalism, resurrection, a quest, a talking bird, and then finally, well, you'll see what happens at the very end. There once was a man, had 2 children dear, but his wife was dead and gone. On an ill day he married in haste, and a new wife he brought home. 'Twas an ill day, for she was not kind, the children she despised. She plotted and planned to be rid of them, and took the young boy's life. She put his body in the cooking pot to pretend it was rabbit stew, but the daughter guessed at her evil game and knew what she must do. Pew, pew, what a dreadful fate. Mother murdered me and my father me ate my
It's said that 12 Highlanders and a bagpipe make a rebellion. This is, of course, an old proverb originating in Scotland. Its meaning portrays the fierceness and the pride of the Scottish people, describes the heart and soul of this beautiful country. We can beat you, it says, with only a handful of our best men. But breaking away from the usual stereotypical and often romanticized view of Scotland as seen in Brave and Braveheart, a good battlefield is not nearly the perfect description of Scotland, though it is the one that we use the most. Scotland is known mostly for its preservation of history, its stone castles, Celtic music, and green rolling hills. Should one visit the Highlands, for example, they would find a Scotland completely true to the imagination. In the preserved but never forgotten rural areas of Scotland, there are numerous and wondrous spectacles of natural beauty. A visit to Binley, for example, would involve the stunning vision of majestic, snow-capped mountain peaks and the feeling of cool, lush wind against the skin. A trip to Stirling could invoke feelings of joy and importance, and catching a glimpse of the Stirling Castle framed by trees and a backdrop of earthy hills. It's well known that this particular castle is one of Scotland's grandest due to its size and architecture, and though I said that I wouldn't do this, it does stand over one of Scotland's most important battlefields. Stirling Bridge, where William Wallace waged a bloody battle circa 1297. On the subject of important castles, the surrounding area of water, the aroma of wet earth, and the vision of mountains that seemingly go on forever are the trademark of Eileen Donan's surroundings. Because of how small and worn it may look from far away, many wouldn't guess that the castle was used to protect against Vikings back in the day. Should a traveler prefer city sights instead, I'd suggest one of Scotland's most famous, the Edinburgh Royal Mile. The road itself leads straight to Edinburgh Castle, and on the stretch of it you can explore the history of Edinburgh, place by place. The smell of food wafts in the air. Particularly the witchery serves the finest Scottish produce. They have succulent, well-cooked meat, fine-tasting wine, and gourmet puddings to tantalize the stomach. There is constant moving and talking. This isn't a bad thing, though. It only enhances the fun. Not to mention, if you still don't believe that Scotland is a great place to go one day, the magical world in the Harry Potter films and books was based in Scotland. Also, it's barely a hassle to visit the Onwood Castle, which is used as a stand-in for the interior and exterior of Hogwarts. In Edinburgh, at the Elephant House, you can also see where J.K. Rowling finished her books. And if none of that is interesting, the Elephant House has established itself as one of the best tea and coffee houses in Edinburgh. So if you're not a fan, you'll get something good there either way. Edinburgh is a place of history, and even the places that were subjected to urbanization still have a distinct feeling of age. It is this, combined with the sights, smells, and feelings that make this country a must on the list of places to visit. Remember, though, that all the sites here are preserved, but won't stand forever. There are petitions to save Scotland's seas and keep up the nature preserves. This is mostly due to the fact that despite Scotland's natural look, in a world that just needs more, some sites will disappear sooner rather than later. If you're young, see all these sites in your youth, make memories of it. And sadly enough, if you're old, see it before you die. A trip to Edinburgh doesn't cost a fortune if one saves up. Moving on, I know what some of you are saying. Why not mention the sounds? What will I hear on my travels in this beautiful country? Well, simply put, it's not the sounds of the countryside that are important. It's the sound of the people. Scottish English and American British English are two different beasts. Their slang is often a mixture of English and Gaelic. Many Scots do not pronounce the double L, and words like fall become fa. In contrast, a Scottish R nearly always sounds like an L, as Scots will sometimes only roll the R once. So, words like weird will become weald. There are many other differences that may give you pause, but never worry. It's just something new to get used to. There are vast accents and slangs of Scotland. For example, the one that I just touched upon was Glaswegian, or Ouija as it's called. It's often characterized as harsh-sounding and sometimes unpleasant. However, that did not hinder one Scottish Ouija from becoming a national outlier. On April 14, 1961, in Maryhill, Glasgow, Scotland, Robert Carlyle was born to Elizabeth and Joseph Carlyle. These two were not wealthy or in any way well endowed. Elizabeth Carlyle, for unspecified reasons, abandoned the family when Robert was age 4, forcing his father to raise him alone. Robert was raised poor and lived in an array of hippie societies. At times, when there was no food, they would scout through the garbage bins for food stamps that had been discarded. What set him on the path to the acting world was that of a random occurrence. As he said in an interview with charity With Kids, he decided, with the persuasion of a friend, to attend the Citizens Theatre in Glasgow. Since, Robert Carlyle has played in 54 films and television series. He became engaged in the theatrical world at the age of 21 and has been acting for 30 years. However, should one actually see him, they would be surprised. Carlyle is a relatively small man, measuring a mere 5 feet 6 inches in height. He bears a smile of slightly crooked teeth. In interviews, he alternates from laughter to concentration and silence. He never dresses up, appearing mostly in casual wear and long, shaggy brown hair. He has a long nose, sunken cheeks, and wide, dark brown eyes. Not exactly what one would call star material. Yet it was these features and his experiences as a child that fueled his acting skills and made him interesting to the eye. His heavy accent, which he was told would destroy his career before it began, instead engaged audiences from Scotland to the United States. Carlyle, however, was always one to give back. Since his career began, he has become the ambassador for charity establishment With Kids, an organization designed to aid other needy children in the East End of Glasgow. Robert has also participated in multiple charity events with Once Upon a Cure and SCIF. He gives generously, and though he is friendly and down-to-earth, can play roles on film ranging from a kindly misfit to a psychotic murderer. In leather. In many ways, Robert Carlyle is also a show of some of Scotland's commonplaces. Endurance. As I said, we usually see a Scottish person as strong, and don't get me wrong, they are. If not in body, then in heart. They're a proud nation of proud people who have no problem with fighting for what they believe in. Nurturing of identity. This is more of value. Scottish people tend to love independence. They take pride in who they are, just as Robert Carlyle refused to abandon the accent of his hometown. And just as when asked to do an American accent, he replied, "I am not a performing monkey." An understanding of this commonplace can also help travelers from America better get along with Scottish people. It is a common misconception that Scotland and Ireland are practically the same place, and that their people are identical. This is not so, and if you dare to make the assumption to a Scottish person's face, they will become extremely annoyed with you. Lastly, truth. This is represented mostly in Scottish fairy tales, which brings us back to the song sung in the beginning. It is about a Scottish fable entitled The Milk-White Dew, a story in which a boy is killed by his own mother, cooked and eaten. Throughout the story, the dove tells his tragic tale to passers-by, and they give him gifts to ease his pain. In the end, his father and sister are rewarded with a long life of riches by the spirit of the boy, and the evil mother dies for her wickedness. So, Don't be fooled by television. Don't assume and don't lack initiative. Scotland is more than a green battlefield or a well-painted Mel Gibson. It's so much more, and the only way to see just how much more is to take the trip.
Thank you very much. We won't be doing any more about the cannibalism of small children tonight, that's a promise. Oh, I know. I know you really wanted more, but...
Dance.